example of this. In 1977, this is when the city took ownership. So this is where the shoreline was when the city took ownership. So you can see how much of, this mouse wants to escape. So you can see how much erosion this has happened over this many years.
And was that all vegetation, tree and shrub vegetation?
Well, it's just a little, it's a replicate of this. This is our Juncus salt marsh, which is not common around these areas. And this is a marine oak hammock, which has about 3 species of marine oaks, your live oak, your sand oaks. And you have the isthmus right here. So all this was up here, and I'll show you.
So what caused the erosion? Is it?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Now, to determine whether or not this was accelerated erosion, I kind of have to prove this with DEP permitting. I'll explain about permitting. But I had to show this was accelerated erosion and not natural erosion. Well, it's kind of hard to do, but I was fortunate enough to find the Santa Rosa County Mean High Water Survey. So what I did is this yellow line, you can't see it up here, but here you can see it. This yellow line is a fixed line. This is fixed from this date. This yellow line over here is also fixed from this date. So this is we have a 2005, 2001, 2005, and 2006. Or no, 2003 and 2005, I'm sorry. Side by side comparison. This is the east side of 3 Mile Bridge. This is the west side of 3 Mile Bridge. Now, if you look at all the years on the east side of 3 Mile Bridge where that yellow line is, there's no erosion. And in some areas there's accretion, there's buildup. But over here, if you look on the west side, you can just see it slowly eroding back. So something has caused this area to erode quicker than the other side. These were erosion stakes we have put out. This is 2009 and 2010. So you can just see in some areas almost 20 feet erosion in 1 year. This is historical erosion of Deadmans Island. This is 1940. See how it's parallel against the shoreline? Hardly any development, hardly any dredging. It's just natural. And here's the 68. You're starting to get a little bit more dredging, but everything still looks pretty good. Now in 1976, you start seeing hardening of the shorelines, docks, dredging, more development being built, and then a seawall. Now seawalls are notorious for scouring out your neighbor. If your neighbor doesn't have one and you have one, well, your neighbor's going to lose the land, and that's what happened with Deadmans Island. But it wasn't just the seawalls that had happened. So as the bridges increase, the bridge development and the dredging increases, because remember you have this big channel right through here where all the big boats go through. There's no sediment getting there to renourish this area. So when you have dredging and that sediment transport comes down, it just falls right into the dredged area. So Deadmans Island does not get any type of renourishment. And that's what's happened here in 2005. More seawalls, more dredging. In 1989, this is the shoreline. Notice the shoreline of Deadmans Island. Remember those brick structures I was showing you? Well, this is 2007. This is 216 feet away from shore now. And it's tilted, so there's a lot of undermining. That means there's a fast current going through there. The only way you can have a fast current is a large fetch in shallow water. Hurricane Dennis came through. The city had tried to erect a seawall, and in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers, and DEP permitting and other agencies had held up the permitting process, and the Army Corps had to withdraw their application so they could put their seawall up to help stop the erosion. Well, the Army Corps had to back out due to low funding, and then here comes Hurricane Dennis. Hurricane Dennis comes through and exposes an unmarked cemetery. We have 6 coffins out there, and yes, they are coffins. UWF Archaeology took 3, and they put 3 back. And they're still sitting in water today. They were ran through a CAT scan to determine there were bones there. But these coffins are encased in the peat. See the peat all around, the root system? Well, these coffins were encased in it. So it's not like you could really open them up. They're encased in them. So they still don't really know how to get into them yet without destroying the contents inside.
Is that a body?
Yes. Yeah. This is a skeleton. Yeah, that's a skull right there. It is a body. And it was determined by the medical examiners that they were dated at 1800.
With a pink bandana, was he buried in that? Or?
No, that's survey tape.
That's not going to count as a participation fee.
Now, remember when I told you about that fast current? Well, the only way that that can happen is you have to look at the fetch in different areas. And the fetch is your transport, your water transport. So the more shallow the area, the faster the water travel. The best way I can describe it, it's kind of like a tsunami. A tsunami starts off as a long shore current, and the longer it is and the faster it is, the more of an impact you get. And this is where the problem is. Right here is this 11-mile fetch coming from the northeast. Now the rest of them, yeah, you're still going to get a good impact, 4 or 3 miles. But this 11-mile fetch is so unpredictable, and it could go so fast that that's what's causing most of the damage here.
That's a major dredge area for the barges, right?
Yes, it is.
So the barge is going to Gulf Power with all the coal and so forth.
And here's the route that they take. This is the whole. This is the route that they take, and this is all the dredged areas as well. So we decided, well, we need a breakwater. We definitely need shoreline stabilization, and we need some fill to renourish the area and create an additional wetland. There were many, many designs, as you can see here, but the one design that we came up with was this one here. Here's our breakwater. And what we're doing is we're using an oyster reef breakwater. This is a natural breakwater we're going to use. We're not going to use any hardened walls. And then here is our shoreline planting, and here is where our fill and our wetland creation is going to be. Our pre-test that we had done, we had a magnetometer come out and side scan sonar to determine exactly where all the wrecks were, and where the wrecks were is what dictated where the breakwater went. I mean, if I had my choice, the breakwater would go right next to shore here. But unfortunately, we have to protect the historic structures as well. Oops. I don't know why it says that every time. And then we had a bathymetric survey done of the cove. And we also had a ground penetrating radar test of the area to show, see these little humps here? That shows there's still something underground, whether they're more coffins, whether they're midden, we don't know. But there's still something there that needs to be protected according to the Historic Division. Permitting, there's a lot of things you may want to do. You may want to do on your property, but when it comes to doing things in the water, you don't own it. The state does. So you have to go through various agencies to get permitting done. And sometimes these rules don't necessarily fit the project. But the main thing that helps in a permitting situation is public interest. And this particular project showed extreme public interest. We've had over 200 people petition and 42 letters wrote in support of the project. It was a very political project. State Representative Clay Ford became involved. And this is one of those where I'm showing to the agencies the benefits outweigh the costs. I mean, you're protecting historic resources, you're protecting an unmarked cemetery, and you're protecting a salt marsh.